Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be filming my eyeshadow collection. Now, I did film this video probably maybe 10 months ago now, maybe longer, and it was really well received. So this time round I have decided to film it from two different angles, so I hope you guys appreciate that. I hope you like it. But the last time I did just film it camera down, and yeah, it was really well received. Because I have so many that I'm going to be filming with today, what I will do is I'll leave some timestamps in the description box down below. So if you just want to skip to specific brands, then you can easily go ahead and do that. But otherwise, this is going to be a super long video, so it's easily going to be over an hour, I would suggest. So go get a snack, get a drink, get both, and let's just go ahead and get straight into it. Alrighty, so as you can see, I do have a little collection to begin with of my Focallure palettes. Now, the first few that I'm going to show you is from the Go Travel collection. This one here is called Prague. We can absolutely, obviously, appreciate the imagery on this, absolutely beautiful. And this is what she looks like. Absolutely stunning color story. Now, I will say with Focallure shadows, I do really enjoy the matte formula. I find that the matte formula is just absolutely beautiful to work with. And I love this color story, really beautiful, warm, earthy tones. Next one we have is the Turkey palette. Oh, so beautiful. So again, still sticking with the really warm tones, but some beautiful purples running through this palette, so it is absolutely stunning. I do find the metallic formula a little bit hard to work with, but it's definitely manageable, especially for the price that these come in at. I do definitely find that Focallure is extremely affordable. So this here is the Perth palette. Really beautiful colors. I feel like this is very Perth, definitely. So yeah, absolutely beautiful. We also have the Paris palette. Really stunning, and this is what she looks like inside. So really interesting shades. I would say that the Paris palette is definitely probably the most similar to the Prague palette, I would say, in the way of, you know, their colors. But again, really beautiful, and I just can't part with these palettes. As I said, the matte formula is just absolutely amazing to work with. It blends out extremely quickly and easily, and yeah, I just think that they're really cool palettes. The final one that I have from Focallure is this one here, and it is the Sunrise palette. Now, this one here was supposed to be like a dupe for one of the Huda Beauty, I think the Huda Beauty Nude palette. So yeah, that is what she looks like. I actually haven't used this palette yet. Isn't that terrible? I just haven't gotten around to it. I bought it because it was on sale and I had a good deal with the shipping. But yeah, I just honestly haven't gotten around to playing with it yet. But I do really love the color story. So I feel like I might need to just pull it out and create a look, and maybe even pull my my nude Huda Beauty palette out as well, and actually do a look on one eye and see whether they can fare off against each other. But yes, really do love the color story of this one. Okay, up next is my Viseart collection, and this is the Traced palette. Now, I ended up getting this from a Beautylish lucky bag, I believe. And yeah, this is what she looks like. Really beautiful. I mean, I love these tones. Like, they just are absolutely stunning. Again, I do find the matte formula in these Viseart palettes to be just beautiful to work with. This is definitely one of those palettes that I would travel with as well. I do like how sturdy the case is. Like, I find that to be really handy, especially when it comes to traveling. So yeah, I just think this is beautiful. Okay, next up we have, isn't this beautiful? It's so small. This is the Warm Edit palette. I mean, please, we all know, let me just bring this up. We all know how much I love these colors. They are just absolutely stunning. Beautiful, beautiful warm toned colors. I do travel with these. I have traveled with this quite a lot actually, and I just find that it is just so beautiful to work with. They blend out so easily, and I really do like the metallic formula in these as well. The other one is the Rose Edit. Again, really, really beautiful color story. You guys know that purple is my favorite color, like literally of all time. So yes, I of course had to pick this one up. Again, the metallic formula is just beautiful, and I really do like to travel with these palettes. I know obviously 2020 hasn't really afforded us to be able to do a lot of traveling, but when I can go ahead and do some traveling again, these definitely will be coming with me. Up next, I have some palettes from Nabla. Now, these are just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So this is the Soul Blooming eyeshadow palette. And like, again, the color story in this is just stunning. I haven't used it a great deal, but every time that I have used it, it is so lovely to work with. The matte formula is absolutely beautiful, and yeah, what can I say? I really love it. There's this beautiful duo, you can't really tell, but this has got a wonderful pinky purple base to it. So this is a duochrome, so it's got that lovely silvery blue shift, and the base is like this pinky purple color. It's absolutely stunning. I love it so much. So that is that one. Next up we have the Poison Garden palette, and again, just the artistry is so beautiful. Like, check that out. Absolutely stunning. And this is what she looks like inside. That cobalt blue shade, I mean, just oof, it is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I do really love the color story in this palette. I think it is absolutely stunning. And yeah, it's just one of those ones that I had to have. I did pick it up from Beauty Bay when it was on sale. So yeah, just beautiful. All right, moving on to my Ace Beauty collection. This one here is called Vintage Dawn. All of my Ace Beauty palettes I have actually gotten through BoxyCharm. Really beautiful color story. I mean, this is just me all over. I mean, I love, love, love a beautiful orange shadow, and these two just absolutely call my name. It's really interesting because this one here looks far more red on camera than what it does in person, so I do find that to be super interesting. But yeah, just as a whole, just this is a beautiful palette, and I really do love the formula. The formula of these is just lovely. The metallic formula in particular, I really, really do enjoy. Again, now this one here is called the Scarlet Dusk palette, and again, you can see that this is just my kind of palette all over. Beautiful warm tones, and you know, you've got some lovely purples coming through, some beautiful oranges, and again, like, this is far more pastel in person than what it's coming up on camera right now, so I do find that interesting. But yeah, really, really stunning, stunning shades. Next up we have this one here, and this is Life's a Drag palette by Huda Beauty, owned by Manny MUA. This palette is massive, like, it literally is so big. I think that the artistry is quite cool. I really do like that. Opening her up, and this is of course what she looks like. I can tell you right now that this is probably one of my most favorite eyeshadow formulas that I have used. It really is so good. That white is so white, and oh, I have some fallout in there. What's happened? That's not good. But literally, this white is so, so white. This is like the Sickening is literally the perfect transition shade. Beat is as well. Oh my goodness, you could put this all over your lid and have no issues and be good to go for the day. It is absolutely beautiful, this shade right here. I just absolutely, I'm in love with it. Like, just look at that. It is a beautiful, beautiful shade. Chuck that all over the lid with a little bit of Sickening as your transition shade and you are good to go. The formula of the coloured shadows is really nice as well. Like, I was quite surprised. So Campy really is that vibrant even on the lid. So is Fishy. So yeah, I was quite impressed with that. But to be honest, I do stick to more of this side of the palette when I'm using it, just for my everyday looks, because it really is just so easy to blend out and use. Okay, up next we have our Tati Beauty palette. Oh, this is the Volume 1 palette, of course. I love this palette. It is just incredible. It sits on my vanity. I use it regularly. It is just so perfect. It literally is one of the perfect palettes in my opinion. I mean, look, I don't use glitter all that often, but when I do use it, this is definitely the palette I reach for, because the formula of the glitters in this palette literally is just the best I have ever touched, ever used in my life. One swatch and it literally comes all the way off your finger straight onto your lid. It is incredible. I also find the metallic formula to be just incredible. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful formula. The sequin formula, again, is really lovely. And the matte formula is like, oh my goodness. That matte black, by far, is probably the best matte black I have ever used in my life, hands down, period. Like, when I get married this year, hopefully, no wait, next year, 2021, this will most likely, like, in my mind, be the palette that I would pull out to do my bridal makeup for sure. Like, it is just so beautiful. I love it that much. Obviously, we all know that there's clearly some things going on behind the scenes with Tati, and I'm really hoping that all of that sort of just, you know, dies down and she can come back in the new year, because I adore her. I adore this palette, and I really am looking forward to hopefully being able to add to my collection from her brand very, very soon. Okay, up next we have this Hipdot palette. Now, I did get this one through BoxyCharm, and this is the only Hipdot palette that I own. So I've never actually bought from the brand before. I have heard good things. But this is the palette, so I'm actually quite happy with the shades. Like, as you guys know, as I've always said, warm tones, purple tones, they really are my favourite. I think they're just beautiful. So I can't really comment too much on the formula of this because I've literally never used it. This is completely untouched. I only just recently received it. But I am definitely looking forward to putting it to the test and giving it a go and letting you guys know what I think. Up next we have this Monster by BPerfect, and this is the Carnival 3 palette. Love Tahiti. Oh my goodness. This is the Stacey Marie collaboration, and I mean, this palette is just unreal. Like, check those colors out. Like, oh, I just don't even know where to begin. The formula is incredible, like, hands down. The matte formula in this, for the amount of color that you get, is just insane. The payoff is incredible. These purples, I mean, this is my happy place by all means. And this shade here and this shade here, they are super, super unique. Really a unique metallic formula. They glide on the lid so beautifully. They look incredible. Just this entire palette is such a vibe. Did I need it? No. Do I need any more colors in, like, colored shadows in my collection? Definitely not. But I had always heard really good things about this formula. I had passed on the first 2 palettes that were released for various reasons, and then this one came out, and I just thought, no, I have to have this particular one. Just, I don't know, it told me that I had to have it. What can I tell you? So yes, I ended up picking this one up, and I do not regret it at all. If I'm going for a vibrant or colourful look, this is definitely one of the first palettes that I will be picking up for sure. It is absolutely beautiful. Okay, onto my Morphe collection, and literally I have so many palettes. I didn't even realize I had this many. So let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so the first one is the Morphe X Jeffree Star palette. I purchased this because it was on a ridiculous sale price. We all know that Morphe has since cut ties with Jeffree Star. And this is, of course, the palette. I did see this palette getting mixed reviews online. I literally purchased it because I felt like, I don't know, it's a piece of makeup history, I guess. So yeah, that is literally the only reason why I bought it. I think I literally ended up paying $15 or something like that for this palette, which is just crazy. So yeah, I have no idea what the formula is like in this particular palette. I have never used it. But that is literally the only reason why I picked it up. Okay, next up we have one of the first Morphe Pride collections that I purchased. So this was in collaboration with the Trevor Project, and I really, really like this palette a lot. This one here is such a lovely formula. I really was quite surprised actually when I was playing with it. I just feel like this is your classic rainbow palette, you know. The formula in this is quite lovely. 1978 is probably one of my favorite shadows out of the whole palette. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful purple. And actually so is Liberation. That is actually a absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous shade. But yeah, I do find that the mattes in here blend out just fine, and the metallics, you know, it's a nice formula. Nothing to complain about. I did, of course, buy this based on the charity that was behind it. So yeah, I'm very happy that I picked it up when I did. Sticking with the Pride theme, this was the 2020 theme for Morphe, the Pride theme, and that was Glisten Up. And this is what the palette looks like. So completely different to the previous one we were just looking at, that's for sure. You've got all down here are glitters, and then up here are these. It's quite an interesting metallic formula. Some of them are quite opaque, others are quite sheer and just meant to be like topper shades. Again, you know, if this wasn't for a good cause, I probably wouldn't have picked this palette up, to be perfectly honest with you. I did literally buy it specifically, again, for the charity work that was behind it. Okay, up next we have the infamous Jaclyn Hill Morphe Vault. I still have the original ones. I think that since this was the original launch, so I think since then the packaging has changed ever so slightly. I know that this came with a whole bunch of controversy. Again, for me personally, I'm just going to take them all out. Me personally, I honestly didn't have any issues with them whatsoever. So this is Dark Magic. Really, really beautiful, beautiful shades. This is completely out of my comfort zone, not gonna lie. And to be honest, I do need to pull it out and play with it a little bit more, just to be a little bit more creative. But yes, beautiful, beautiful shades. I love the color story so much. Next one we have is Bling Boss, and this is the purple shade, or purple palette. I really like this palette. Again, obviously, we know how I feel about these shadows, and yeah, again, I honestly haven't had any issues with it, so yeah. Up next we have the Ring the Alarm palette, and I mean, this is obviously the warm tone palette in the collection, and this definitely has had a decent amount of use from me. I really, really like this palette. Again, had no issues with the formula at all. This one here is the Armed and Gorgeous palette. Again, this one sort of pushes me out of my comfort zone a little bit, but it really is such a beautiful, beautiful shade. Top Secret palette rather. Top Secret is such a gorgeous like army green shade. I really, really do love this palette specifically for that color. It's just beautiful, and again, completely pushes me out of my comfort zones when it comes to using green shadow, that's for sure. Okay, moving on to one of the originals. So this was one of the very, very first Morphe palettes that I have ever purchased in my whole life. And this was the 35F palette. Good old plastic packaging here. And this is what she looks like. Of course, no mirror in this one. This is like the classic fall palette. It is so, so, so beautiful. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of metallics and 1 row of mattes. The formula in this is amazing. It just is amazing. Considering I have had this for literally, what, over 7 years, if not longer. I have that much shimmer on my hands right now. It's insane. But I just want to show you guys, like, just to give you an idea. As I said, I have literally had this palette for over 7 years, and those shades are still as creamy as what they were on the day that I first got it. It literally is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful palette. This is definitely, you know, this is all winter vibes and fall vibes for sure. So yeah, I definitely pull it out for then. To be honest, you know, any of these shades here, just through your crease and then popping one of these on top, you could wear that all year round, don't get me wrong. Just when I look at this color story as a whole, it just gives me intense, you know, autumn, winter vibes. And it is just, I mean, look at it. It's such a beautiful palette. So yeah, I'm so stoked that it still works just as well as the first day that I got it. And, you know, I know that for some reason, some people don't really talk too highly about the Morphe formula. I don't really know why, because this has been my experience so far, and I honestly think it's really, really good for the price that you pay. Okay, up next we have the 3503 palette. This is the Fierce by Nature palette, and I literally bought this based on the orange shadows in this. Like, hands down, the orange shades in this are just amazing. This glitter, I hate it. I really should depot it and just get rid of it completely. I really don't like the formula of it whatsoever. The color of it's beautiful, but that's about it. The rest of it, however, the rest of the palette, I love. Classic Morphe formula, can't go wrong in my opinion. The mattes in here are just fantastic, and the oranges, like just these shades are, especially these two, are just amazing. And even that all over the lid, oh, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. So yeah, that's why I picked that one up. Okay, up next we have the Jaclyn Hill palette volume 2. I only recently got this. I actually haven't used it yet, so I'm not too sure whether the formula is any different to the rest of her formulas that have come to really enjoy. But I picked this up because it was on sale. I think I ended up paying like $18 for it, something crazy. And yeah, it's a beautiful color story. It's definitely something that I have time and time again in my collection, that's for sure. But you know, I have all of her other palettes, and I just, you know, I really wanted to add this to my collection. I really do need to pull it out, so I'm going to leave this on my vanity so I do actually start using it. But just these shades in particular, I absolutely vibe. They are so beautiful. And of course, you know, we all know that the orange shades in this palette sucked me in completely, and then you've got a beautiful purple situation happening down here. So yeah, this is definitely a palette that I'm going to get a good amount of use out of. I just need to leave it on my desk to actually use it, to be honest. But yeah, that's why I picked that one up. Okay, up next we have the Morphe 35M palette. This is, again, back to that plastic packaging. I think this is right around the time when Morphe rebranded. Oh no, I actually only got this recently. And again, same situation. So I picked this up because, again, it had an absolutely ridiculous sale on the website, and I was really, really intrigued by this color story. I thought it was just beautiful. We have some amazing purples in here, and of course, look at these greens. So this is something that I picked up because, again, I'm wanting to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit and use some more green shadows, and I really do like that beautiful, like, dirty khaki green. I think it's just stunning. So yeah, definitely looking forward to diving into this one. Now this is when Morphe had just changed their packaging, because this is still definitely the very old packaging, but just the new logo. And now this one here is a 3502 palette, and this palette is just amazing. So this palette, as you can see, is extremely warm toned. You've got some beautiful oranges in here. Again, we all know I love orange, and this is definitely one of the reasons why I picked this palette up. You have about 25,000 shades of brown. Do you need this amount of brown in your life? Probably not. But it is nice to have that as, you know, I guess an option. Again, the formula in this palette is really lovely. I have used it a few times. And it's, yeah, I really enjoy it. I think that, as I said before, Morphe, you really can't go wrong with the price point and the formula. Okay, up next is the Jaclyn Hill palette, the original. Now this literally is the original palette. I got this on launch night. I was very lucky to pick this up when I did. And as you can see, it's like literally the original one. I didn't get the sheet with the name of the shades. It's not on the back like it is now, I think. So this is what it looks like on the back if you guys are interested. But yes, this is the OG. Got this on launch night. And again, look, I love this palette. I use it all the time. It sits on my vanity and I reach for it like all the time because again, it's just one of those palettes that you know it's going to be super easy for you to create a look with. And then literally just get out the door if you're in a rush or something like that. So yeah, I highly recommend this palette, especially if you're new to Morphe and you're just sort of wanting to try the formula out for yourself. This is definitely one that I would recommend because I just feel that the color story is really great. You have a lot of choice in this. And you can create a lot of beautiful looks with this palette. So yeah, out of all of them, this is definitely one of the ones that I would 100% recommend you pick up if you haven't tried the brand. Okay, 2 more to go, and these are just the monsters. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna get this in frame, like literally. These are huge. So this one here is going to be, what is it? This is the Such Gem palette. I did do a whole video on this. Did I need this palette? Definitely, absolutely not. I bought it because there was a sale on. Just trying to move things out of the way so I can get this in frame. I bought it because there was a sale on, and purple is literally my most favorite color in the entire world, and that is the whole reason why I picked it up. This middle row I don't necessarily love. It's a really interesting row. Like I just don't understand why it's bigger. I guess some people thought that you might be able to use this as like, you know, highlights and things like that. I personally have not had that experience. There is a soft pressed glitter in here as well. I don't like their glitter formula. It's just not my favorite. But aside from that, the looks that I created using this palette when I was doing my review are some of my most favorite looks that I've ever created. I really do like this palette a whole lot. As you can see through my collection, there is a whole bunch of definitely repetitive shades. But yeah, look, I really like this palette. I really like the color story and I really enjoy the formula. So yeah, if you like purple, definitely this is a great one to pick up. Okay, very last one from the Morphe family, and this is the 39A palette. So this was, I think, supposed to be a limited edition palette. It was like supposed to be a Christmas palette. I think James Charles was the campaign person for this. And then it sold out, and I was like, oh no, it's sold out. I'm not going to get my hands on it again. And then it came back. Not too long after it sold out, and I was like, oh, okay, and then it went on sale, so I bought it. Are we seeing a pattern here? So look, again, classic Morphe formula. I really enjoy this palette. Again, I feel like you have a lot of options here, you know, to create a whole bunch of different looks. This berry tone is just so lovely. But again, look, with the Morphe palettes, as you saw, there is a lot of repetitive shades, definitely. I can't see myself picking up another Morphe palette for a very long time, if I'm being honest. And I'm sure Phil will be very happy about that. But yeah, look, I really enjoy the formula. I think it's very easy to use, and for the price that it is, it's extremely affordable. So, you know, that's all a win-win in my mind. But yes, that is officially my Morphe collection done. Okay, moving on to my ABH collection now. This is the Norvina collection. This was, I believe, volume 1. Just let me pop her out of the way while I do this. So yes, this was the volume 1. Really beautiful packaging, definitely. Opening her up. And you guys, of course, will have seen this all over everywhere. this is what the palette looks like. The formula in this is just classic ABH. It is beautiful. And you know, you do have some really intense, vibrant colors in here as well. And I feel like they are very true to how they look in the pan. Like, as an example, E4 is this really amazing, vibrant orange, and it literally does pretty much look like that when you put it on the eye, which is nice. C3 is this absolutely incredible red, and again, it's, you know, sometimes when you can see a red in the pan and then apply it to the eye, it sort of goes out, it sort of blends out pinky. This is very true to color, very, very true to color, which I find to be great. You also have a lot of lovely, beautiful purple shades in here. Purple is one of the hardest shades to formulate, and they blend out just beautifully. And I can tell you right now, this A1 color is amazing. It's this perfect, like pearly purple. Is it gonna focus? Hang on, there we go. So kind of, no, it's not going to focus. There we go. So this is such a beautiful pearl purpley shade. It really is quite stunning all over the eye, of course. You know, especially with one of these shades in the crease. Oh, it's so, so beautiful. And this one here, this gold, is such a unique gold to my collection. It really is like a true yellow gold, and it just has so much depth to it. It's so beautiful. So yeah, I really do enjoy the formula of this particular palette. Sticking with the Norvina theme, this I believe is volume 3. Yes, this is volume 3. So these are the only 2 out of hers that I own. And this is what the volume 3 looks like. I mean, you guys know why I had to have this. Again, like I keep saying this, but it's true. The greens 100% put me out of my comfort zone so much. However, these oranges are just incredible. I love, 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 love this palette so much. And again, A1, funnily enough, this is such an incredibly unique shade. It's like, you know, a cross between a green and like a neon green and a neon yellow together. It's so beautiful. And very, very unique to my collection, that's for sure. B12, again, is more of like a matte red to what we saw in the other palette. And again, very, very true to how you see it in the pan is how it applies to the eye, which I like a lot. E5 is this absolutely incredibly beautiful, shimmery purple. Really, really beautiful. And when I don't know, I have to get the confidence to put this all over my eyeballs, but B5 is just hang on, sorry. C5 is absolutely beautiful. What an incredibly gorgeous shade. So it's this beautiful green, and then it has like a wonderful gold reflect running through it. It really is just quite stunning to look at. Okay, moving on, sticking with the Norvina theme. This is the Norvina palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. Honestly, guys, I thought I was gonna love this a lot more than what I did. I don't know why. I don't seem to reach for it as much as what I thought that I would. There are some really unique shades in this. I mean, I think Soul is just beautiful, and the row of metallics is just incredible. Like, honestly, the formula, there's nothing wrong with the formula. It really is the classic ABH formula. I feel like maybe, I don't know, am I crazy in saying this, but this for me runs a little bit too much on the cool tone side of life, and that is not at all my comfort zone whatsoever. I like a nice warm tone palette, as you guys know. And so yeah, I just feel like I need to play with it more than what I do. Dreamer, I will say, however, is just an incredibly, incredibly beautiful, beautiful metallic. Like, it is such a stunning shade. Very, very similar to the Beat shade that was in the Huda Beauty palette. Really, really beautiful. All right, moving on, we have got the Soft Glam palette. I really like this palette. Again, I feel like it's a little bit more on the cool tone side of life than what I'm generally most comfortable with. But I do get a decent amount of use out of this, and it really is such a beautiful formula. You do have quite a, you know, some repeat shades in this definitely. So you've got your sienna here and your noir black over here. I think orange soda is potentially, or burnt orange, one of these is potentially a repeat shade as well. So do just keep that in mind when, you know, you are looking at ABH palettes. Sometimes there might be some repeat shades, which you might be fine with. If you use it a lot, you may not be fine with it. Just depends on you really. So do just keep that in mind. Up next we have the Riviera palette. Now I purchased this because it was on sale and it was limited edition and it was colourful and beautiful, and I am very regretty. I really should have just saved my money when it came to this. Like honestly, I haven't used it and it's a real shame. So yeah, I mean look, this is an absolutely incredible shade. It is absolutely beautiful. I think this one here is quite unique as well. But again, this is definitely one that I easily could have just passed on, and I didn't, and I, in hindsight, should have. Not for any other reason, just other than the fact that I just did not need this palette, to be perfectly honest with you guys. But I'm going to hold on to it. Okay, up next we have the Modern Renaissance palette. As you guys can see, she's dirty, she's well loved. This is definitely hands down in my top 10 palettes of all time. In fact, probably the top 5 palettes of all time, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. This, I have actually hit pan on this one, which is kind of exciting. This is such an incredibly there's burnt orange. Haha, I knew it was, there was some repeat shade somewhere. Actually, Tempero is another one. Anyway, I love this palette. It is beautiful. If I was ever going to repurchase a palette, this is definitely going to be the one that I would repurchase for sure. It is absolutely stunning. I would recommend this palette to literally any single person ever. If you're new to eyeshadow, if you're wanting to try out the ABH formula, this is the palette that you should pick up, hands down. 100%. I love it that much. So yes. Up next we have Miss Sultry. How beautiful is that? Like that just looks so stunning. Okay, let's have a look inside. Again, very much so on the cool tone, out of my comfort zone completely side of life. Why did I buy this? Probably because of Bloom. Like, I'm not even lying. Like, looking at Bloom, I'm just like, yeah, that's warm tone. Let's just pick her up. No. It's not. So Cyborg is definitely a beautiful, beautiful shade, very unique to anything in my collection. When I look at this, it definitely gives me vibes of the one of the latest Natasha Denona palettes that she's just released. Is it the Glam palette? I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head, but definitely gives me those vibes. I haven't got that one yet, and knowing the fact that actually I own this, I probably won't pick it up because I just don't feel like I need another cool tone palette that I'm only going to use, you know, on the rare occasion. Again, repeat shade with Noir over there, and I think Twig as well is in a few of them. Anyway, I did do a collaboration video actually using this palette with Cindy Lou Bindi, so I'll be sure to link that for you guys to check out if you're interested. But yes, definitely push me out of my comfort zone, this one. Up next we have the Prism palette. Again, this one here was limited edition, and I am so happy that I picked this up because the color story in this is so incredibly unique. It is just beautiful. I think that out of them all, like honestly, this is probably the most interesting color story that I have ever seen her release. And I really like the formula in this. I think it is absolutely beautiful. And this shade just here, Throne, oh my God, it is so beautiful. It really is just so beautiful. Lucid as well is a really lovely, unique shade. Like, it's just very, check that out. It's a beautiful pearlescent shade. It's absolutely stunning. Definitely a topper shade or like an inner corner shade, that's for sure. But yeah, it's a stunning, stunning palette, and I'm very happy that I got my hands on it. Okay, last but certainly not least, we have the infamous Subculture palette. Now, This came with a whole lot of drama, as we know. And again, Cube, I don't know what's happened to you. I feel like, oh no, it's still good. Look at that. Isn't that just so stunning? Anyway, this, as you guys know, came with so much drama behind it. I find that so sad because I really like this palette. I rate this palette a lot. I think that you do need to be very light-handed when you use it, and yes, it does take a little bit more work than, say, what her other palettes, you know, I guess take to work, I guess. But the thing with this is that these ones are all very softly packed, so you know they are going to flick up a little bit more than usual. They are going to be a little bit more dusty than what I guess we're used to from her other palettes, and maybe that should have been sort of, you know, said as a disclaimer before this was released potentially. But you know what, the color story in this is so beautiful, and it's really interesting because this is definitely outside of my comfort zone for sure when you think about it. But I just think that the color story is very unique and it's very beautiful. And that Adorn shade, oh my god, that all over the lid is just stunning. Like, it really is such an incredibly beautiful burnt coppery shade. Like, it's just beautiful. So yeah, I am not displeased at the fact that I own this at all, and I actually am one of the strange people who really does enjoy this palette. So there you go. Okay guys, so on to ColourPop now. We are almost about halfway through, just so you know. Okay, so this one here is the Dream Street palette. This was the, I don't even know what happened there. This was the Kathleen Lights collaboration. I really like ColourPop formula. I think it's quite lovely. I think that this shade down the bottom here is just, it is so beautiful. What is even this called? Kaleidoscope. Yes, it is an absolutely stunning shade. I really should have been like swatching this on the back of my hand the whole way through. It would have made it a lot easier, I feel. Anyway, Spark is a really lovely shade as well. As I said, I do enjoy the formula, and to be honest, I think I would have just added this onto my added this into my basket to get free shipping or something to that effect, because these aren't necessarily colors that I would otherwise always go for. But again, you know, I don't know, I'm a sucker for when I see cool tones and I think it's a good idea at the time, and then I get them and then I'm like, maybe not. So anyway, I don't know, I'm a disaster. Moving on, we have the She palette. This was Femme Rosa. So this was, I believe, limited edition, and then they brought it back, and then they got rid of it again, and then they brought it back, and then they got rid of it again. I have no idea whether this is actually still available or not, to be honest with you guys. But we do have two rows of metallics and then one row of mattes, and this is a really lovely palette. Now, I pull this out of my collection generally around the winter time, definitely around the sort of wintry fall time. I get those vibes from this palette for sure. You have this Glean is just this absolutely stunning duochrome shadow. So right now it kind of looks, I guess, pinky in the on camera, but in person it also has this incredibly beautiful coppery reflect. It's just stunning. And yeah, so I really like this color story. I think it's quite pretty. Moving on, we have the Element of Surprise, and I think this was one of the very first palettes that I did a review on, or like a look with, when I started YouTube, to be honest. Oh my god, isn't that crazy? I really like this palette. So you have this wonderful duochrome shade in the center here. It's this beautiful violet / bluey sort of shade. It is absolutely stunning. Again, another lovely duochrome just here and here. So really getting the vibes from this palette. You guys know how much I love duochromes. And again, the matte formula in here is just wonderful to work with. So yes, I can definitely never get rid of this palette based on the fact that this was one of the very first ones I ever did a review on, and I really enjoy the color story, and I like the formula too, to be honest with you. It's a nice formula. Up next we have this is the Perception palette by Shayla. Again, I picked this up because of the colour story, and then I got it home and then I used it a couple of times and I'm like, why did I buy this? We do have a beautiful duochrome here. This shifts green to like this beautiful orangey shade. I own this duochrome probably in about 3 or 4 other palettes, so did I need this? No. But yes, look, I don't know. I really like the look of this palette online and I'm like, let's just pick it up and try it, and I did, and I do like it, but I honestly didn't need it. So that's sort of how I feel about it, to be honest with you. Yeah, look, if I look at my other collections, honestly, I could probably pull about 2 Morphe palettes out and I would have all of these shades in that palette with ease. So yeah, really didn't need it. Okay, moving on to one of my most favorite eyeshadow formulas of all time. And that is Coloured Rain. Now this one here is the Queen of Hearts palette. This is what started it all. This was initially supposed to be a limited edition palette, I believe, and then everybody went crazy and they were like, oh my goodness, what have we done? Let us bring it back permanently. And they did that, thank God, because everybody should be able to experience what this palette has to offer. It is absolutely stunning. Stunning. You have some incredible matte shades, and the matte formula in this is just unreal. You only need the smallest amount on your brush and the tiniest amount just goes such a long way. It blends out just effortlessly, like genuinely so easily. The metallics in here are just beautiful as well. Like, my goodness, it really is such a wonderful palette. I'd highly recommend it to literally anybody. Like, it is so good. Next up we have the Coloured Rain X Power Collection palette. I have never seen this TV series. I didn't really care too much about the TV series itself, the fact that it was in collaboration with that. I picked this up because A, it was on sale. Are we seeing a theme? So yes, A, it was on sale, and B, these colours. I mean, please. We all know I love purple. It is my favourite colour. It really is. And this is just stunning. I knew I was going to love it because I knew I love Coloured Rain formula, and I have no regrets whatsoever about picking this up. I think it is absolutely beautiful. So yeah. Finally, I have been wanting to get my hands on this for so long. This is the Coloured Rain Vivid Pigments and Shadows palette. Now they say that obviously because some of these shades will stain your eyelids, so just do keep that in mind. I personally have not had any issues with this. I have used it quite a few times. It blends out amazingly. Like, it literally blends out so beautifully, and look how you've got this wonderful row of purples and blues. Like, they just flow so beautifully into each other. These blend really lovely with each other. They don't get muddy, they don't go all weird. They really are just so beautiful. The formula, as I cannot talk highly enough about the formula. You know, again, especially creating really vibrant shades, matte shades, it can be very difficult to get that right, and get that blendability happening. And honestly, these just blend out effortlessly. They are so beautiful. So if you are after a matte, colourful eyeshadow palette, this is, out of all of them, 100% this is the way to go. Like, you will not be disappointed with the quality of this palette, that is for sure. Okay guys, it is time to talk Natasha Denona. Now, out of my entire eyeshadow collection, by far, I do believe I have the most palettes out of one particular brand. It's definitely got to be Natasha Denona. I love her. I love her eyeshadow formula. Let's just talk about it, shall we? Okay, so this is the Love palette. Now, I picked this up because, again, it was on sale. I need to stop saying that, but it's the truth. And I really thought that these shades were beautiful. I have a tendency to watch her do these tutorials on IGTV and sometimes on YouTube, and I get totally and utterly sucked in. Like, I really do. These shades are just beautiful. It is very, you know, purpley and lovey, and just, you know, it was obviously a collection that came out for Valentine's Day or around that time, and it really is just beautiful. I'm not displeased to have this in my collection whatsoever. This shade here, Heart, absolutely beautiful, so stunning. So is Soul, actually. That's just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, Lifetime as well, and just another stunning shade. I mean, I could go on. Again, you've got a beautiful duochrome in the middle here, which makes me very happy. Also here as well. So yeah, this really is just a beautiful color story. Sticking with the same sort of theme of these palettes, this is the bronzed palette. Now, I initially thought I was going to love on this a hell of a lot more than what I have, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, it is absolutely beautiful, and I will just tell you that this one here is 100% a duochrome, and it's looking very ready on camera, but in person it's a little bit more muted, if I'm being honest. So that just goes to show you how incredible these duochrome shades really are. They're just beautiful. The golds in here, amazing. They are stunning. Same with the transition shades. I don't know why, I just don't feel like I reached for this as much as what I initially thought that I would. You know, I was swatching it in store and I thought, yep, this is so up my alley, to be honest. And it's, funnily enough, I do feel that I reach for this far more when I actually have a tan on. I don't know why that is, but it's just, I do. But yeah, I mean, the formula in this is really quite beautiful. Again, with more of like, not quite the mini, but the smaller palettes, we have got the Sunrise palette here, and this is what she looks like. Really beautiful palette. You know, just these shades, like, you guys know I am a sucker for a warm tone palette. This shade just here is just, it gets me every single time. It looks almost, I guess it has this almost bluey sort of shift on camera, but in person it has just this most incredible purpley pink undertone to it. It's just stunning. Same with this one here. It looks far more fiery on camera, whereas in person it's more of like a beautiful coppery pink shade. Really stunning. Same with this one. This is definitely coming up really red on camera, as is this one actually, and this is definitely more of like your purpley shade, so interesting. But you look, I really love this color story. It's your classic warm toned color story. We all know how I feel about that, and I've used this a few times. I've created some really beautiful looks using this palette, and yeah, I will keep using it time and time again. It's definitely one of my favorites out of her collection. Moving on to what is definitely easily, again, in my top 5, if not my favorite palette of all time. This is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. It is very dirty and it is exceptionally well loved. So this is what the palette looks like. I just can't speak highly enough about this palette. Oh God, it's just so beautiful. Like, honestly, there are so many different formulas happening in this palette. It's insane. This duochrome is just incredible. It's this beautiful lime green shift. It's just insane. All over the lid, amazing. These two shades here definitely have this beautiful green to blue undertone to them. They are just stunning. And then you have so many different varieties of gold. You have so many different versions of like a beautiful coppery shade. Absolutely beautiful. The formula in this is just insane. I love it so much. Highly recommend it. Honestly, I think that if you enjoy gold, if you enjoy these sorts of tones, this is definitely a palette that everybody should own. It really is just so good. It will last for a very long time, and I honestly do think that you will get a lot of use out of it. Definitely one of my newer ones. This is the Metropolis palette. I have used this a few times now. I actually used this to do my sister's formal makeup, and it came out beautifully. Really gorgeous color story. This, I believe, was her 2019 Christmas palette, I do believe. Really stunning color story. You do have so many options in this, and yeah, I'm very happy that I picked it up. I feel like it complements my collection just beautifully. Okay, up next we have the Lila palette, and this is of course the purple palette. Again, I have used this quite a few times and it's one of my favorites. I love all the different duochromes in here. I love the matte formula, of course. It definitely runs a little bit more on the cooler tone, the cooler side, of course. But again, I actually find myself reaching for this quite often, and I do, yeah, I create a lot of looks using this palette. This shade in particular is very, very unique. It's just beautiful. So yeah, if you like purple and if you like things a little bit on the cooler tone, cooler side of life, this is a really wonderful palette to have. Moving on, we have the Sunset palette. This was one of the originals that I got, so I don't know, I did hear some like rumors that the formula changed or something, so I'm not too sure about that because I got it when it very first released. I love this palette. As you can see, I reach for this quite a lot. I really do enjoy using it, specifically over the summertime, of course. Because you just have these incredible warm tone shades. This is such a beautiful shade, like it's so unique, this one right here, amazing. And again, this is probably one of my favorite crease shades as well, really, really stunning. Again, this is just one of those palettes that is very, very easy to create a look with, and you know, it's like one done and you're out the door. Yeah, really, really do love this one. Okay, up next we have the Tropic palette. Now, this was the first palette that she released that came in this plastic packaging. I know since then she has obviously released plenty more in this same sort of like packaging. Not my most favorite, if I'm being honest, but I guess it is convenient for people who want to pop the shades out. Now, you guys will know I have spoken many times about this palette. I still haven't depotted it. I don't know why. I need to get there and do it. This was definitely by far one of the most disappointing palettes that I have ever purchased from the Natasha Denona brand. And the reason for that specifically is because of these two shades. These two shades look incredible on camera. They look incredible in person, but the second you swatch them, they are incredibly lackluster. And if you guys haven't seen my previous videos, let me show you exactly what I mean. There is literally, what do you mean? There is just nothing happening here. So it's like they instantly got hard pan almost. They just don't, like, that is not a Natasha Denona quality shade, if you ask me, like, honestly. And I should know. I own enough of them to, I feel, give you that opinion. But yeah, they are just incredibly disappointing. I will say though, for the rest of the palette is just fine. Like, I haven't even swatched this in so long. Yeah, I mean, that comes out okay, I guess. Let's have a look. I mean, no, it doesn't. Like, there is no redeeming qualities about the metallic formula in this palette whatsoever. I don't know what the hell happened. I feel like maybe they were just pressed way too hard. But yeah, as a result, it is literally next to impossible to use, which makes me really annoyed because this, of course, is one of her larger palettes. It definitely was, you know, more expensive. So this was around the $200 price point, certainly in Australian dollars. I believe in the US it retails for something like $130, I think it is off the top of my head. But yeah, so I find that is just so disappointing because the actual matte formula in this palette is absolutely beautiful. The matte formula in this palette is amazing. So to be honest, I know I've said this probably for the last 3 now videos that I've done like this, but I am honestly going to declutter this palette. I'm going to pop these matte shades out and, you know, keep them in my collection and then just throw the rest of it out because I never reach for it anymore, based on the fact that these two don't work. 3 really don't work, and it is so disappointing to me because obviously when you're paying that amount of money, you know, the expectation is you're going to get, you know, a really beautiful formula across the board. So I don't know how and why this happened the way that it did, but that's just how it is, unfortunately, in my case. So yes, I will be depotting these matte shades and throwing this palette out after this video for sure. I'm actually going to do it because yeah, it is just very disappointing, unfortunately. Moving on to the Star palette, and this is the one that started it all for me. This was my very first Natasha Denona palette that I ever purchased. It was a huge expense. It was very, 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 very expensive at the time that I purchased it. and I've never looked back. I absolutely love this palette. It is so beautiful. As you guys can see, it is very well loved. You have some incredibly unique shades in here. And of course you've got this beautiful, you know, classic duochrome up here. This one here has got a green shift, and then it has a really beautiful warm, really warm orangey base to it. It is absolutely stunning. But yes, this is definitely what started it all for me and my love for Natasha Denona. It is really so beautiful. I love this palette so much. Okay, last but certainly not least, this is one of her really big palettes, and I actually can't remember the name of it. It's actually come off the back. Oh, I almost dropped it. Great. But this is like the blue palette, I guess, out of her massive palettes. Again, this is definitely one of the most expensive palettes that I own in my collection. In fact, I do believe that this is the most expensive palette that I do own, hands down. I did not, of course, pay for retail for it because I'm not crazy. I did get this on a very, very heavily discounted, or at a very, very, very heavily discounted rate. I literally paid half the price for what this normally retails for, so that is the only reason why I picked it up. I also knew that it would be in my collection basically, obviously, forever. And I really do love the shades in this palette. Really, really quite stunning. Again, you've got this beautiful duochrome down the bottom here. I love that duochrome so much. It has such an incredibly intense violet base to it. It's so beautiful. And yeah, I don't know. I really, really like this palette. This is like the original, you know, Natasha Denona formula that you just come to know and love. You know, this is the formula that I believe is also in the Star palette that I was talking about earlier, and that's what really started it off for me with my desire to own more of her palettes, because I really, really, really do enjoy her formula. The only issue I've ever had was, of course, with her Tropic palette. So yes, love this one. Now, when I said that that was it, I forgot about my minis. Oh my goodness. Okay, forgive me. You're gonna have to. Here we go. So these two were the holiday collections from, I think, either 2018 or 2019. I believe it was 2018. I'm fairly confident. So you have the Aries and the Joya palette. I love both of these. I think that the formula in these are absolutely stunning. This shade in particular is so amazing. I absolutely love this shade, of course. As you know, it's this beautiful burnt terracotta color. Absolutely gorgeous. And then we have, I mean, that just, talk about a yellow gold. It is stunning. Really, really love this one as well. So, of course, you know what I'm like. I had to have both. The next one that I got is the Cranberry palette. Now, this was initially in limited edition packaging. I think it's been released now with just the white packaging like this one here. This was actually kind of really disappointing. The shimmer shades are incredible. So these metallics are beautiful. This one in particular, extremely unique, really, really gorgeous. These two matte shades, however, really lackluster. I don't know, again, whether they've just been pressed too hard in the pan, but the payoff is, it's really not there, and it's really, really hard to get any kind of payoff on your eyes as well when you're using them with a brush. So I did find those two to be really, really disappointing. I don't know whether it was reformulated when it came out in this packaging or not, but yeah, that was just my experience with it. This one here was, again, I think this was like the second or third Natasha Denona palette that I ever owned. This came in a BoxyCharm. This came in a Beautylish Lucky Bag. The formula in here is just incredible. Like, honestly, these shades are just amazing. They're definitely complementary shades to her other palettes. However, I don't feel like you would really use this certainly on its own. There's just too much. Well, they're all basically metallic with the exception of this one here, which is a satin. So yeah, just too much shimmer happening on the eye for me. But again, as I said, you would definitely use this as you know, pairing with the rest of her palettes, and yeah, they really are lovely shades. This one here was called the Eyeshadow palette number 5, if you are interested. This one here is one of her newest ones. So this is called Peak. Now I got this, I didn't buy this, I actually got this in a BoxyCharm. I was not going to go and buy it, to be honest with you, again because I definitely feel like I already own these shades, but the fact that it came in a BoxyCharm, I was really happy to have received it. This is definitely one of those palettes that I will be traveling with for sure, so that's what I'll be utilising that for. Now I have 3 of her minis. We have the Mini Star palette. I really like this palette. So cute, really great to travel with. Yeah, it is absolutely beautiful, that one. And then we have the Mini Leela and the Mini Sunrise. And again, I feel like these two are complementary, definitely. They are absolutely beautiful. And yeah, like they pair so lovely with the other 2 palettes or just simply on their own. And again, really lovely to travel with if you're wanting something, you know, if you're wanting to take something with you with a little bit of colour but not too much. I find that these are really great to travel with. Okay guys, it is, I almost said Game of Thrones time. It is Urban Decay time. And so starting off, we have definitely a classic. This is the Electric palette. This was the very first sort of really vibrant palette that I ever purchased, that I ever owned. It's just that blue. Amazing. I don't know why they discontinued this palette. It is so sad. I think they recently released a new palette that was very similar to this, but it's just not the same. And I thought that was just so sad. This is definitely a cult classic, a cult favourite, and I just love it. Again, not all of these are eye safe, so they will stain your eyelids. If you do own this, just do be aware of that. But yes, I love this palette and I definitely will not be getting rid of this one anytime soon. Moondust palette is up next. Now, I think this has been discontinued. I'm not 100% sure. These are all glitter shades. They are all topper shades. They are incredibly beautiful and very unique, and obviously you would pair them with, you know, other palettes for sure, but they really just can transform a look. They are really beautiful. This one in particular is just, oh, it's so gorgeous. But yes, that is that one. Can't get rid of it. I love it. We have an oldie but a goodie. So this is the new, and when I say new, I bought the Naked one a very long time ago, and she was very well loved. And then I saw that they were discontinuing it, and I had the opportunity to buy a new one, and I thought, you know what, just for the sake of it, I'm going to do that. So I replaced my original that I had for like 10 years only recently with this one because they were discontinuing it. And so as you can see, she looks beautiful, brand spanking new. But literally my old one of this, I had hit pan in about at least 3 shades. Buck in particular, oh, I mean, you guys, oh my goodness. Such a classic palette, and you know, for one last time I had to own her again. We have got the Naked Heat palette up next. Now, I thought I was going to love on this a hell of a lot more than what I did. I just never reach for this palette. Obviously, it's a warm tone palette. You guys know I vibe warm tones so much, but I just hardly ever reach for this palette. I really don't know why that is. There's nothing wrong with the formula. The formula is just fine. I hardly use it. Okay, up next we have this one here. This was limited edition, and this is with the Beached eyeshadow palette. Guess what, guys? I bought this because it was on sale. Yeah, look. I really love this palette though, I'm not gonna lie. The color story is really lovely. Just the blues, they're so beautiful. Also, you know, we have some beautiful browns in here as well, some really lovely coppery shades. It is a really lovely palette. The formula is really nice, and yeah, I do use this on the occasion. Haven't used it in a while, but yeah, if I'm ever looking for a blue that's kind of like this, I know exactly where I'm going. Okay, up next we have the Game of Thrones Urban Decay palette. Now, this is still in its original packaging in the box because you guys know this is definitely a collector's piece, and I couldn't possibly not keep the original box that it came in. So I will just show you guys. Can you see how it's actually got the map and all of that inside the box? There's so much detail with this, it's insane. So this is of course what the palette looks like. Really beautiful. Opening her up, you have this wonderful mirror on the side. Let's be real, I'm not going to use that mirror, but that's okay. You've got this quote here, and then I'm just going to show you when I lift her up, if I can lift her up, you have the Game of Thrones, the chair, the throne itself. So obviously very, very, very gimmicky, but I don't know, I love it. And then underneath here you have another quote as well. So, you know, it gets you in the feels. It really, really does. Now, the actual eyeshadow itself pulls out on the side here. So here it is. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Can I even get this completely? Oh my God, I don't even think I can get this in. I'll have to turn it that way. I have never used this palette ever. And to be honest with you, I probably never will use this palette. I literally purchased this specifically on a collector's base only, and yeah, that's just what I did. I do think that all the shades in their own right are absolutely stunning. I think they are beautiful. But yeah, I'm honestly never going to use this palette because I literally just wanted it as a collector's piece. I loved the TV series so much. And to be honest with you, I was really bummed because I tried to buy the entire collection and it sold out so quickly, and I was so sad about it, that I missed out. And then I literally had the chance to just get the palette, and thank God I was able to get my hands on a palette because I know that these sold out really, really, really quickly. So yeah, I was very, very lucky to get my hands on at least the palette, and I'm so thankful that I did at least get my hands on this, because yeah, I think it is beautiful. I think it's obviously gets you in the feels when it comes to the Game of Thrones for sure, and yeah, I will definitely have this forever. Okay, I'm back. I just had to have some dinner because it is actually quite late here now, and it's just started raining outside, so apologies if you can hear that in the background. Alright, moving on. We have the Revolution brand, what am I saying? We have my Revolution palettes. I really only have two. So we have this one here, which is a paint palette. I got this about 2 years ago, specifically for Halloween, thinking I was gonna, you know, do a whole thing and create looks using it. I didn't, but I still have it for maybe one day when I will create a weird look using this palette. We'll see. But yes. And then I also have got the Emily Edit palette. This is the Once palette. Didn't get the other one, but yes, I just really enjoyed the look of this color story. And you know, Emily is obviously an OG YouTuber, so again, all of these reasons is why I wanted to pick it up. Also, I really wasn't very familiar with the Revolution eyeshadow formula. I have used it a handful of times. It's probably not my favorite eyeshadow formula, if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys, but I mean, it's nice for what it is, and it's a pretty affordable price, so yeah. Okay, up next I have my Depotted Shadows. So this is in my Z palette, and I'm just going to open this up so you can properly see it, and there's a lot less glare, hopefully. So all of these shadows in here, every single one of them is a Marc Jacobs shadow. So all of these shadows came out of those big clam like holiday palettes that were released over the course of, I believe it was 2017, 2018 and 2019. There was a large clam palette for each one of those years, and I got them all. Some of them got destroyed when I was depotting them, others, and this is basically what I was able to save. So as you can see, there were some definite casualties throughout, but I really do enjoy the Marc Jacobs eyeshadow formula. It really is a beautiful formula, and you know, like these palettes were expensive, so I'm happy that I was able to hold on to what I was able to hold on to. And again, this is definitely something that I reach for quite often, and I actually find that I use it more depotted like this than what I did when it was in its own like little individual clam palettes. So yes, there you go. Before I show you my other depotted shadows, I did just want to show you my other Marc Jacobs palette that I have, and it is this one here. Really, really beautiful. This was, I believe, the rose, what was this called? 790 Fantasine palette. So yeah, really, really pretty shades in here. This is definitely one of those palettes that you can just pick up and create a beautiful look with. This copper shade here is just absolutely stunning. Yeah, I really, really like this palette, so yeah. Okay, so these are just magnetized palettes. These are the Anastasia Beverly Hills magnetized palettes. I don't have any ABH shadows in here. I just literally am using them because I got them when they were on sale, and I was like, yay, let's do this. Okay, so right here we have got these shades here from the Kat Von D Serpentinia palette. It was a limited edition palette, and I really enjoyed the shades, like the quality of the formula of these. It really is just beautiful, but I really didn't like how bulky the packaging was at all, and so I decided to save the shadows but get rid of the actual packaging. Okay, another magnetized palette by ABH, not actually containing any ABH shadows in here, but that's okay. So in here I have a collection of things. So I have a couple of MAC shadows. So I've got this one here, and this one here is a MAC shadow. This one here is actually an Urban Decay shadow, and it is really beautiful. So you can't tell, but this one here is actually a duochrome. It has this incredible burgundy shift to it. It's absolutely stunning. These three shades here are Ofra individual shadows that I got in. Can't actually think what I got those in, to be honest with you. It was something. These ones here are still all Marc Jacobs, so these were the ones that didn't fit in the other one. These three here are from the Ciate palette. It was what was it called? Glitter Storm. So it only had 3 glitters in there. The rest of the palette was super disappointing, but these 3 shades were just incredible. They really are beautiful, beautiful shades. So of course I had to keep them. That one there is a little individual Natasha Denona shadow that I got from my Sephora subscription. So I just got that for free in a purchase that I made. These ones here are all TooFaced. So these are from the TooFaced Unicorn palette. Again, I didn't really like the palette itself. I found it very bulky and very kiddish, if I'm being honest. But the actual shades themselves are really quite beautiful, and you have some really lovely duochrome shades in here as well. And yeah, the quality of the formula is just really good as well. This one here is obviously out of that palette as well. It's massive. Not my favourite, but I didn't want to get rid of it because I felt like it was wasteful, so I just sort of slid it in there. But yes, they are my little individual ones. Okay guys, so up next we have my Pat McGrath palettes. So I've got these 2 little minis here. I do believe you can still purchase these. I think they are on her website quite cheap at the moment. The shades themselves are really quite beautiful. I did do a whole dedicated video on these. Individually, these shades are just absolutely stunning. Obviously, you would need to, I think, pair it with, you know, a couple of matte shadows, but the actual shades themselves are lovely, and the formula itself is quite nice. So that is those ones. I actually didn't mind this packaging either. I think a few people thought it was really cheap looking, but I don't know, I kind of liked it. I felt like it was very futuristic. And finally, from my Pat McGrath, I don't own very much of her shadows, but this is the Pat McGrath, what was this called? The Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity palette. Now, I did just recently do a whole dedicated video on this palette. It really is quite beautiful, The shade selection in here is just incredible. I did mention that the actual packaging itself is not my favourite. It does feel a little bit cheap, and that is definitely the truth. However, for the price that you pay and getting the selection of shadows that you get, it really is quite fantastic. I do find little things like the little ribbon on the side here to be a little bit on the gimmicky side, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The size of the mirror, as you can see, you can only kind of half see it there, but the size of the mirror in this palette really is fantastic. I probably will end up cutting these little side things because I don't really like it sitting up like that. I just personally can't see myself using it in this way. But again, as I was saying, you know, if you look past the packaging, for the price that you pay, I think it is exceptionally reasonable to get this kind of selection of her shadows and to give her formula a go. I don't regret this purchase whatsoever. I think it is an absolutely beautiful palette, and I definitely will continue to use it. Okay, so moving on to my Jeffree Star collection, and yes, I do have quite a lot of Jeffree Star palettes, so happy to take you through this collection. As you can see, I'm holding up the Shane Dawson Mini Controversy palette. I really liked Shane Dawson before I found out the things that we all have now come to find out. So I'm really not going to comment too much on that. I'm just going to simply leave that there. I got this palette well before any of that sort of was, well, or certainly before it was known to myself anyway. And I'll just leave it there as far as commentary goes on that. But this is what the palette looks like. As you can see, it is the original palette, so it's not the one with the green shimmery shade that they put in instead, I think, of potentially Diet Root Beer. I'm not quite sure. But yes, so I mean, I honestly at the time literally only bought this to support Shane, as ironic as that sounds. But yes, that is the reason why I bought it. As you can see, I haven't used it. I don't really have any intention of using it. I don't want to throw it out because I feel like that's just wasteful, but you know, the whole thing is just really sad, I think, honestly, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I don't know. I'll continue to hold on to it, but I'm not really, I mean, I'm certainly not going to use it in any videos or promote it in that way, so it is what it is, I guess. Moving on, we've got his Thirsty palette. Now, I got this when it was very first released, and I really quite liked this palette. I thought it's actually very nice. The row in the center the quality is just so beautiful. Like, it really is. The metallics are just really quite lovely. It is more of a unique formula to the other formulas that he has used in the past, I will say that. These blend out just so beautifully. I love his matte formula of shadow. I actually really like his eyeshadow formula. It's really quite nice. I will say, however, I don't find that these are quite as nice as what I was anticipating. I actually much prefer the formula in the Huda Beauty palettes, if I'm being honest. Just in the way of like the pastel-y colours. I just felt like they would be more pastel than what they actually are, if I'm being 100% honest. But yes, I really do enjoy this top row, and as I said, these shimmers they really are beautiful. We of course have the Jawbreaker palette. Now, I picked this up because, again, I do like the Jeffree Star eyeshadow formula. This was one of the very last palettes that I picked up, with the exception of the Controversy palette, which is ironically so well named. But like, literally, I really like this palette. It's got some absolutely stunning shades. Orange Juice, the shade just here, is incredible. I mean, I love orange, as you know, orange eyeshadow, and this metallic orange eyeshadow is just stunning on the lid. Absolutely beautiful. So yeah, really some lovely colours in here, and probably, like, as far as I'm concerned at this point, I won't be purchasing any more. I just don't foresee myself purchasing anything more from the Jeffree Star brand. That's just a personal choice, but it doesn't take away from what I have already spent good hard-earned money on. So yeah, that's why I'm going to obviously continue to keep these in my collection and use them. This one here, I really need to just take out completely. Every time I open this palette, I get absolutely covered in this shade. It broke and I tried to repress it and it just has not worked well for me. I do really love this shade. It is a beautiful shade, but it's just not working. It's getting into everything else now as well. The shades in this Androgyny palette are just beautiful. This one in particular is stunning, and I love this one all over the lid as well. It really is so beautiful. Also too, this one here that's called Military, quite well named. This is a really beautiful military green. It is actually quite a unique green to what I do have in my collection. Like if I look at all the military greens that I do have in my collection, this one here is really quite unique. So yeah, I am happy to still have this. As I said, I need to just cut this out totally and clean it up because it just creates a mess every time I open it up. And as a result, I don't use it as much as what I should for this reason. So yes, I made the mistake of traveling with this palette and I damaged it, as you can see, and that's why the shade is the way that it is, unfortunately. Okay, on to the original Beauty Killer palette. It's so funny to see where the brand started in the way of eyeshadow and where it ended up, like, honestly. And this is just, you know, I mean, this is classic Jeffree Star. This is such a crazy color story. Like, where else are you going to see this color story? Again, the quality of the shadows, though, really are fantastic. You get way too much product, in my opinion, though. Like, this is the amount of product that is in these palettes is insane. So I'm glad that he did change the format, to be honest, because it just was obscene, the amount of product that you were getting. But again, you know, the quality is definitely there, and I do like this palette. I have used it quite a few times. This purple shade is just one of my absolute favorites of all times. It really is so beautiful. And again, this is just such a great transition shade. Like, it's just so lovely in the crease. So yeah, I can't complain about the formula, if I'm being honest. I just don't reach for it definitely anywhere near as much as what I used to. And finally, we have Blood Sugar. I love this palette. Like, I understand it's Jeffree Star and whatever, but I love this eyeshadow palette so much. I love the color story. I love the, there it is. Like, I love the color story. I love the formula. I love how easy it goes onto the eyes. Like, it blends out so beautifully. There are so many fantastic looks you can create using this palette. Prick, this is such an incredible shade down the bottom here. I absolutely love it. Same with this one here. So beautiful. Cherry Soda. So lovely. Blood Sugar itself, it's interesting. It has a little bit of a duochrome to it, if I'm being honest. Like, it looks far deeper on camera than what it does in person. Extraction, oh my god, this purple is I love it so much. Same with Coma, so beautiful. These two shades are just incredible. And this is actually a really lovely gold too. So yeah, look, as I said, I really, 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 really like this palette. I use it a lot, and it never disappoints. Even this white is really nice as well. Okay, moving on to Juvias Place. I love Juvias Place eyeshadow formula. It is so good. You would have seen in my previous videos I had a whole bunch more palettes than what I'm currently showing you, and that is because I decluttered a lot of them, and I actually gave them to my sister, who is getting a lot of good use out of them right now. But this one here is the Saharan palette. Really, really, really unique color story. I think that this is just beautiful. I saw Nikki tutorials using this and I was like, yep, I have to have this. And it really is so beautiful. It's such an incredible color story, and I really do enjoy mixing and matching these shades together. I will say that Juvias Place eyeshadow formula is probably one of my most favorite eyeshadow formulas, and I hope I haven't said that too many times, but Juvias Place, Natasha Denona, Coloured Rain, ABH, they're all in my top. Jeffree Star as well. Honestly, it's all in my top 10 for eyeshadow formula. I just find it to be so good. The Nubian 2 palette as well. Oh, like, just beautiful. And it's interesting, the ones that I chose to keep, because you know, a few of these run a little bit more on the cooler side, like the cooler side of life, definitely. But I just love this shade right here, and I love this shade over here. It's just, you know, oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Again, the amount of shadow that you get for the price that you pay, exceptionally reasonable. And that's another reason why this is one of my favourite eyeshadow formulas, because I do find that it is so affordable for the amount of shadow that you get and the quality that you're getting as well. It's so nice. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a couple of palettes that I only have one of from the particular brand. So starting off with BH Cosmetics, this is the Desert Oasis palette. I love this palette. You guys know I featured this in one of my videos recently, and it was, you know, like, I guess one of my favorites videos, or forgotten favorites, something like that. I love this palette so much. I feel like you get so much out of it. The quality of the formula in this is just so good. It really is. I have travelled with this palette. I just feel like it is absolutely beautiful. What I do find to be a little bit on the interesting side, and not necessarily my favourite, is the fact that you do, on this side here, you have all these highlighting shades, and then you have all of these eyeshadows on this side. Now, of course, you can use these on your eyes without a problem. That's probably the only thing about the setup of this palette that I don't necessarily love. I would have liked to have seen these in smaller pans and just had more eyeshadows as a collective, if I'm being honest with you. I don't really like it when we get like highlights and an eyeshadow. It's just not my favourite. And I suppose you could maybe use these as bronzers if you wanted to, but I don't know. I will say though that I really enjoyed the formula. As I said before, I just think it is fantastic, especially for the price that you pay. Highly recommend this one. Okay, up next we have this one here by Zoeva. Now this is quite interesting. I don't even remember how, I don't know if this was gifted to me. I feel like maybe that's how I got my hands on it. I feel like it was indeed gifted to me. Because again, this colour story is not necessarily one that I would otherwise gravitate to, but I can say that the quality of the shadows are amazing. These metallics are just, I mean, they are so incredibly soft and so incredibly buttery. Like, they're just beautiful. Like, they really are so stunning. The formula is just so nice. I mean, look at that. You know what I'm saying? When you look at a shadow like this, I always think to myself, is this like an an overlay there, or is it genuinely how it is? And as you can see, it is genuinely how that shadow is. Like, it's just beautiful. So I just mixed it in with the other one, my bad. Anyway, so yeah, I was really quite shocked and taken aback by how beautiful this formula is. I definitely don't use it enough, again, because it runs more on the cool side. So we all know that's not my favorite, but yeah, I can't get rid of it because the quality of the shadows in here are just phenomenal. So, you know, when I'm going for a specific look, I know that I will reach for it, as I have done in the past. So yeah, definitely, I will say I would be totally down to maybe pick up a couple of more palettes by the brand, you know, more on the warmer side end of the spectrum, definitely, and see whether I, you know, get a little bit more use out of them, because as I said, the formula is actually really lovely. So yeah. Okay, up next we have Under My Skin, and this is the Miss Fame palette. Now, I received this in a Beautylish lucky bag. This is my second Beautylish lucky bag that I ever got. Can honestly say, was not that impressed. The quality, there's nothing wrong with the quality. The quality's fine, and I mean, are we all surprised? Absolutely love this shade. This is actually the shade that I used in the look that I created using this palette. But as you can see, There are no mattes in this whatsoever. It is definitely a complementary palette. I'm not a huge fan of complementary palettes. I feel like if you're going to buy an eyeshadow palette, you should be able to create an entire look with that one palette. But, you know, as I said, I didn't go out and specifically buy this. I did get this in a lucky bag, so I can't necessarily complain, I don't feel. I will keep it because, as I said, the shades are lovely. Like, the quality is definitely nice. It's just not something that I would otherwise normally go for. And I mean, you know, Tarte, like, this shade here is quite unique, definitely to my collection for sure. This shade here is actually really quite beautiful as well, and definitely one of my most favourite metallic orange shades that I own, 100%. So yeah, definitely going to hold on to it. I might eventually depot it maybe, but I will say aesthetically, you know, this is, it's a really beautiful palette. You know, I think that a lot of work went into the creation of how this looked, definitely when it came to the packaging, so I can't complain about that for sure. But I just don't necessarily know whether these are the shades that I would have necessarily picked, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, the quality is definitely there, but it's certainly not going to be my first choice, if that makes sense. Okay, up next, and this really surprises me that this is the only Makeup Forever palette that I own, probably because it is so incredibly expensive over here in Australia. So I actually found, how cool does that look? Oh, so pretty. I actually found this palette when I was at TK Maxx. So over here in Australia, if you're wondering, we do call it TK Maxx, not TJ Maxx. I have no idea why that is the case, but it is. So I ended up picking this up for about $15, and I thought, you know what, I cannot not buy a Makeup Forever palette for $15. Like, I'd be crazy to not purchase it at that price, honestly. So this is what the eyeshadow palette looks like. You've got your shimmers and your metallics down the bottom here, and then of course you've got your row of mattes. This is such a lovely palette. I know it doesn't necessarily look like the most exciting palette, and that is the truth, it doesn't, but the quality of the formula is very, very nice. And whilst I probably wouldn't pay the $60+ price tag that I think this palette initially had on it over here in Australia, I am very pleased, you know, with the price that I paid. Can you hear that thunder? Oh my goodness. I'm very, very pleased with the amount of money that I spent on this palette for the quality that it is. It really is such a great quality palette. Again, definitely runs on the cooler side. So completely out of my comfort zone, but I'm still very happy that I went ahead and picked it up, because I have created some really beautiful looks using this palette. Alright, up next we've got the Smoke Sessions by Melt. As you can see, this has got a very clear theme to it. Not the reason why I bought it, however, I must admit I do really love the shades in this palette. I think that they are beautiful, and I really like the formula. It is very, very, very buttery to the touch. Matte formula, not my favourite, but definitely the metallics in here are just lovely. I think some people may have had some quality issues in the past with this particular brand. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, for me, I can say I haven't had any dramas with it yet. Hopefully I don't have any dramas with it, but yeah, I like it. Okay, up next we have this little mini one from Ofra. Now, I got this in I can't think of where I got this. I definitely didn't buy it. It was definitely in like a gift bag of some kind. So this one here is called the Signature Eyeshadow Palette Irresistible Smoky Eyes, and it is definitely that. This is the palette that you would reach for if you're going to create an intense smoky eye. I have used it quite a few times in the past actually for exactly that reason, and it does the job just beautifully. I must say that I do enjoy the quality of the formula in this palette. It is quite nice. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but it's definitely nice, and I have created some really lovely smoky looks using this palette. Okay, moving on, and I still can't believe this is the only Nars palette I have. That's crazy. So this is the Narcissus palette. This is the Loaded palette. Oh, this palette is so beautiful. It really is. It's definitely warm tone. I mean, you do have some cool tones in here, but mainly on the warm tone side, I would say. And the quality of the shadows is just incredible. Nars really does make some beautiful, beautiful formulated shadows. Again, the price tag over here in Australia for Nars anything is quite high, and very rarely can you find it on sale, which is probably why I don't have that many of them. But again, I really do enjoy this palette. I do like the packaging, so I like the packaging for travel. It's very, very sturdy. So this is definitely a palette that I do travel with quite often when I do travel. Not that we've done that for a lot recently, but that's fine. But yeah, the metallic formula in here is lovely. The mattes blend out just beautifully, and yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say about it. Okay, up next we have the Escape Pod palette by Kaleidos. Now, I have never tried this palette. I've literally only just got my hands on it. I purchased it because it was on a Black Friday sale. And yeah, this is what the palette looks like. I've always wanted to try the brand. I just haven't gotten around to it, and I've always been waiting for the sales, that kind of thing, you know what I'm like. And so yeah, I finally ended up getting my hands on it. Now, I know these two shades look very, very similar, but I promise you they are actually quite different. Same with these two as well. This is a really interesting color story for me. I don't know how it would look if it didn't have the purple background. But I'm really, really excited to put this formula to the test. So I can't tell you whether it's good, I can't tell you whether it's bad, because I honestly haven't tried it yet, but definitely keep your eyes peeled for a video coming soon, because I'm really looking forward to filming with this bad boy. I think it just, yeah, it's really, really beautiful, and I've heard some incredible things, especially about the metallic formula. So very excited to put it to the test for myself, that's for sure. The other thing that I will just mention in regards to this palette is that the packaging, this brand does packaging so incredibly well. What am I doing? So, you know, you've got all here is actually raised, and it's quite textured. And of course you've got just this beautiful art that goes across it. And just, you know, I don't know, I really appreciate how the palette itself actually looks. I think it's just beautiful. Alright, moving on to Dose of Colours. Now, I do only have the two. I've got the Desi X Katie Friendcation palette. I just really liked the look of this palette, and that's why I picked it up. The formula is quite nice. Again, it's not the best matte formula that I've ever tried, but it is really, really nice. I do find the metallic formula to be quite interesting. It works really well, don't get me wrong. It's just, I don't know, it's just a bit different to anything I've used before, but I do definitely like it, and I am pleased that I picked it up. The other one, of course, is the Ice Cream palette. I can't think why I had to get my hands on this. I can't think of whose video I watched that made me buy this, but I bought it. Phil actually used this particular palette when he did my makeup for the first time, so that was hilarious. So I definitely can't get rid of it for that exact reason. I know, I'm crazy, but I just, you know what, I never reach for it. It is very unique, it's very cool, it's very cute, but I honestly never reach for it. I do like it. I do like the formula. It's not a bad formula. As I said, the matte formula in this is not groundbreaking, but I don't know. It's just one of those palettes. I can't get rid of it, but I just also can't see myself using it anytime soon either. So, disaster. Alright, up next we have these two palettes from Ciate, and I mean, just how nice is this packaging? I love it. So the first one is the Australis Jeweled palette, and this is what she looks like. Absolutely beautiful. I really like this palette, and of course I vibe so much that duochrome shade in the center there. It is actually so beautiful, and I do actually find that this one performs really, really well. It's interesting. I've had a really hit and miss sort of time with Ciate and their shadows and their formulas, but I do find that these palettes are actually quite nice. Now, I do think that these were limited edition. They were Christmas, I think maybe 2018, 2017, something like that. And then you've of course got the warm tone one here. Again, this lovely duochrome in the center, lime green duochrome in the center. Really, really beautiful. I just like these a lot. I think that the colour stories are so nice. So this one here is the Sandstorm palette. This is by Barry M. I actually had bought this originally and then I gifted it to my sister, and so I bought it again when it was on sale. This is a drugstore item. You can find this if you live in Australia. You can find this from Priceline. I don't know where you would get it if you're over in the States, but if you're in the UK, I'm pretty sure the Boost, is it Boost? The drugstore Boost over there, sell this brand. The quality of the shadows are phenomenal for the price that you pay. Really, really beautiful, beautiful palette. Highly, highly recommend. Up next, I have this cute little one from Smashbox. Again, this is definitely one of those ones that I'd travel with. As you can see, it's tiny, so it's great for travel. This one here is called the Ablazed palette. And as you can see, it's just a lovely little warm tone palette. Really, really beautiful. The quality is very, very nice. And again, it's nothing to you know, write home about, but definitely happy to chuck that in my traveling case and use it, you know, when I'm out and about. It's easy to use, it blends out well, and it's a really nice size for travel. Okay, up next I have this one by Maybelline. Now this looks totally different to the Lemonade Craze palette that was released over in the States. I don't know why that is, but anyway, this is what this is what it looks like over here in Australia anyway. I do think that this was potentially a limited edition one, I think, but I just really like the colour story. I found the way that the shadows actually sit in this palette to be really, really interesting. Obviously they're very, very flat. You certainly don't get a great deal of product, but you know, what you do get is nice. It works just fine. And yeah, I have to keep it because this is a brand that we sell at my work, so it makes it easy for when, you know, if I'm wearing makeup on the day, you know, I want to be able to recommend a customer to what I'm wearing. It makes it a lot easier when I'm actually wearing something that we do sell. So that's one of the only reasons why I will continue to keep this in my collection. Moving on, we have my Australis collection. As you can see, I have a few. Again, this is a drugstore product from Australia. I have no idea if this is sold overseas or not. The quality of the shadows, I mean, they're not the best, but they're not terrible either. So this one here is called Fire Nights, I think. Yes. Really beautiful colour story. Blends out just fine. Again, as I said, it's nothing incredible, but it's nice for what it is, I guess. It's not my most favourite formula, that's for sure. Then we have Beach Days. I actually created a really lovely green look using this palette. So again, I shouldn't be too harsh on it. I really did actually enjoy the look that I created using this one. So yeah, it's nice. And then finally we have the Mesmerize palette. I don't really like this palette all that much. There's a lot of shimmer in here. There's a lot of glitters that I don't really love the formula of. Yeah, this is probably, out of them all, this is not my favourite, funnily enough. So I thought I'd love it because of the colour story, but yeah, definitely not my most favourite out of them all, that's for sure. Okay, up next we have Violet Voss, and this is the Essentials Pro Series palette. This is what she looks like. I got this out of a BoxyCharm, so there you go. The quality of the shadows are just fine. Again, not my favourite, but you know, the fact that I received it in a BoxyCharm and I didn't go out and specifically buy it, I'm very happy to have it as part of my collection. Moving on, we also have the Essentials 2 palette from Violet Voss, and as you can see, this is definitely more on the, oh my goodness, that thunder! This is definitely more on the cooler tone. This one here is a duochrome. It is actually quite beautiful, and it really does look like rose gold. It's just stunning. In person, it's definitely coming up more of the rose gold finish. Obviously on camera, it looks very, very pink, but that is, yeah, it's a really beautiful shade. Again, I like the formula. I don't think it's the most amazing formula I've ever used in my life, but it is nice for what it is. Up next, we have the Celestial Thunder palette by Dominique Cosmetics. Now, this was a specifically like formulated or created palette, I should say, for BoxyCharm. That's what I received it in. I did get it in a BoxyCharm. I really, really do like the shadows. The colours, I have swatched it, but that's about it. I haven't actually used this palette yet, so I'm not too sure about the formula. I do hear interesting things about this particular brand. I do hear that the formula is very hit and miss depending. So yeah, I really need to keep this on my vanity and just give it a go, because I am really curious to see whether it is any good or not. Okay, up next we have Kat Von D. So here we go. I know that there's a lot of controversy behind this brand as well, which actually technically doesn't really exist anymore, does it? I mean, it's been rebranded, and now Kat Von D herself has got nothing to do with the brand that is now, which I do honestly, if I'm being honest with you guys, find to be a little bit sad. I think it's fair to say that towards the end she definitely lost her passion and for the brand, and I think there's many reasons behind that, definitely. I don't think that we have the full story, if I'm being perfectly honest, when it comes to her. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to her. But at the end of the day, I'm not interested in her individually as such, more so about the quality of the products that she releases. And she definitely over the past has had some real hits and some definite misses. But as far as this one goes, the Pastel Goth palette, I just think it's beautiful, and I think it's incredibly, incredibly unique. It is not the most opaque palette I've ever used, that's for sure. I was expecting to get a little bit more payoff when it came to these shades, but you know, it's a pastel palette. It's really beautiful. It's very unique, certainly to anything that I have in my collection. And I just really loved it when it was first released, and that's when I picked it up. Moving on, we have the Classic Shade and Light eyeshadow palette. You guys know what this looks like. I have used this so many times. It still basically looks brand new, which is crazy because I literally have used this so many times. I really like this palette. I think that, you know, for a palette that's full of matte shades, it really, you can create some just incredible looks using this palette, and I'm very happy to still have it in my collection. Moving on, we have her 10-year anniversary palette. This is just my favorite. I love this palette so much. So I missed out on the La Vida Loca palette. I never purchased it, and it's one of my biggest regrets to this day is not purchasing that palette. But I feel like this comes into a close second, definitely when it comes to the colour story. I have used this palette a handful of times. I really like the formula. This is just an incredible duochrome shade just here. Absolutely beautiful. And so is this one actually. And yeah, look, as I said, I really, really like this formula. It's so beautiful, and I think that, you know, she, towards the end, as I said, I definitely feel like she was starting to lose passion for the brand. But then I feel like she pulled it out of her butt, really, when it came to her 10-year collection, and just put it all into this collection. And I'm so happy that she did, because I just love this palette. It really is so beautiful, from the artistry, the artwork on it, just to the actual shade selections themselves. Everything about it, nothing to me about this palette feels cheap and nasty. It really is just, it's a piece of art. It really is, in my opinion. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I will have this as a part of my collection forever. I love it. Okay, up next we have this monster, and this is the Metal Matte palette. And oh, again, this was a good time. This palette is a good time. This was when things were working and going well for her, definitely. The concept of this was fantastic. So you've got all these beautiful metallics up the top here, and all these beautiful complementary mattes down the bottom. The quality of this palette is just so good, and I literally got this on sale when it was at Sephora. I got it for an absolute steal. I think I paid like $25 or something crazy for this palette. It was so cheap when I picked it up. I couldn't believe it, and for the amount of shadows that you get, amazing. Like Tinsel, this shade is just beautiful. Twinkle is insane. Like, I love this shade so much. And again, like, I've dipped into this quite a few times now and it looks brand new. Like, it looks like I've barely touched it. So yeah, I really like this palette and I'm so happy I got my hands on it when I did. Okay, moving on, and we have her Saint and Sinner palette. Now this is when I feel like things were slowly starting to go downhill. However, I do really love the aesthetics of this palette. I've only used it a handful of times. I don't mind the quality of the formula in this. I hate how you've got the two mirrors on this side. I just think it was unnecessary to have the mirrors in this palette, if I'm being honest with you guys. But that is the palette there. It barely fits in frame, so let me just turn it here this way for you. So obviously the concept of this was to resemble stained glass windows, and I really do feel like she encapsulated that really, really well. Again, the quality in here is a little bit hit and miss when it comes to the eyeshadow formula. I really don't know why that is. Sometimes I feel the mattes can skip a little bit. But you know, overall it is a really beautiful palette and I don't regret purchasing this at all. Again, this was before the 10-year anniversary palette was released, and as I said to you, I missed out on the La Vida Loca palette, and this definitely was giving me those sorts of vibes as well. Another reason why I wanted to pick it up. Also too, just the packaging, exceptionally unique, very Kat Von D, and I do feel like I have a bit of makeup history now, if you will, and I certainly won't be getting rid of this anytime soon. Okay, I'm so excited to tell you guys that we are down to the last few brands. Oh my goodness, this is almost over. Okay, so TooFaced White Peach palette. Nowhere near as good as the Just Peachy mattes. I purchased this to go obviously with this one here, and yeah, look, I don't know, the formula was a bit of a miss for me. I had really high expectations and I just don't feel like it hit the mark at all. I mean, it works just fine, but it's nowhere near as good as it's nowhere near as the same quality as what this is, which I just overall found to be super disappointing, if I'm being honest. But of course, moving straight into the goodness that is the Just Peachy mattes. This is my second one that I've purchased. My original one I actually regifted to my sister. That's why this looks like it's hardly been used. I love this palette. The matte formula in this is just beautiful. They really did a great job with this, and obviously these these tones, they are one of my favorite eyeshadow colors, like tones to use in general. Like, I think they're just beautiful. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one out of the brand, definitely. Up next we have this little disaster. This was the Power of Makeup palette by Nikki Tutorials. Obviously we all know that some people got really good palettes, other people got really shitty palettes. I got a shitty palette, I'm not gonna lie. This just, yeah, the quality of this is just terrible. I really don't know what happened, but I can't get rid of it because, again, I feel like it's part of history almost. If I had got the same formula that I think a few of the other people got when it came to their PR, maybe I would have had a better time with it. But yeah, I just went out and bought it, and unfortunately it's just, the quality is terrible. It doesn't blend well, it's very patchy, and just overall it's just crappy. But you know, I love Nikki, so I still have it, and as I said, I definitely feel like I've got a bit of YouTube history, that's for sure. Up next we have the Gingerbread Spiced palette. I have used this a handful of times. I thought I would love this more than what I do. There's nothing wrong with the formula. The formula is really, really nice. I just don't reach for it as much as what I thought I would. I don't know why that is, but yeah, that's where we're at. This is probably one of my favorite TooFaced palettes of all time. This is the Chocolate Gold palette. The quality of the metallics in here is just incredible. Like, it really is such an amazing palette. Initially I got a little bit sad because I thought that you know, 4 matte shades just wasn't going to be enough. But honestly, like, this is all you need to create incredible looks using this palette. Yeah, the formula in this is just fantastic, and I would really recommend it to anyone. Here we are with one of the originals, the chocolate, what was this? The semi-sweet chocolate bar palette. This one here, as you can see, I've lost a shade here, but that's okay. Really classic eyeshadow palette. I used to use this every single day. Like, I loved this palette so much. I since I gifted it to my sister, who uses it quite regularly. I just stole it for this video because I just wanted to show you guys that I still have it. But yeah, it's just, I remember I used to use this every single day. I loved it. I thought there was nothing better than this palette, and I used to wear that as my highlight every day. Oh my goodness. This just brings back so many memories. Probably don't recommend it now though, if I'm being honest. There are better palettes out there. Okay, and finally we have the Sweet Peach palette. Again, this still smells like peaches, which is insane. I really like this one as well. I thought I would use it more than what I do. I certainly haven't picked it up for a long time. However, I have traveled with this palette and I have created some really lovely looks using it. The quality of the shadows in here is just fine. It's your classic TooFaced eyeshadow formula, if I'm being honest. This is very similar to the eyeshadow formula that was in the mini tins that they had. I really like it. So yes, I think this is a good time. Okay, so I also have got the Natural Love palette from TooFaced. So this is a combination of all of those mini tin palettes that I was talking about, literally in one. I really like the formula of this palette. It is beautiful, and you have all of your classic TooFaced shades. Lace Teddy, absolutely amazing. Honey Butter, so good. Kitten, literally, this is Makeup and Chill. Like, I really love this palette. It is obviously a beautiful neutral palette, everyday sort of moment. And if you don't mind the size of it, because it is pretty big, definitely this is one that I would definitely recommend you guys picking up. It really is beautiful. Okay, on to Storybook Cosmetics. We have got the Burn Book. Now, I picked this up, of course, because I love Mean Girls, and of course that's what this palette's all about. So it is, of course, the Burn Book, and the shade names are absolutely iconic. I think that this brand has definitely struggled in the past when it comes to releases and things like that. I do really like the eyeshadow formula. However, I think the eyeshadow formula is very nice. And you know, it gives me all the Mean Girls feels, so that is why I purchased this one. So sticking with Storybook Cosmetics, we have got the Fairy Tales book. This one here is a Little Red Riding Hood. The detail, like, I must admit, the detail on these are just really quite something. You know, they obviously look like books. Like, it's very nice. Anyway, having a look inside, you have a little mirror here and a lovely quote. And then these are the actual shadows themselves. Now, this one here I didn't buy on its own. I actually got this in a BoxyCharm. Very happy to have received it. This shade here, very well named Red. I mean, it looks beautiful. So as I was saying before, I do like the formula. Again, it's just one of those things that I think the brand has a couple of kinks that they need to iron out when it comes to customer service, definitely, but the actual quality of the product is very nice. Okay, second last brand, we have Tarte. So this is one of the little tartlet palettes. This is the Tease palette. I got this as a Sephora birthday gift. I have used this before. I really do actually quite enjoy it. This is one of the ones that I definitely do travel with just because of the size. I find it super convenient and easy. Really do enjoy the formula. It's just one of those basic neutral palettes. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Very nice. Up next we have one of the classics, and this is the Tartelette in Bloom palette. Now, I did actually have the other ones as well. I did end up decluttering them just because I don't honestly use it. I definitely re-gifted that to family. So in here you have a nice selection of mattes, and you also have a nice selection of some shimmers as well. So yeah, I mean, you know, this is just a very basic neutral palette. Nothing wrong with it though. It's a very everyday palette, and yeah, the quality of the formula in this is actually very, very nice. Okay, now last but not least, definitely, this is of course the Graveyard Girl Swamp Queen palette. This is very bunny. This is very, very, very bunny. I literally started, when I first started watching YouTube, Bunny's channel was one of the very first ones that I subscribed to. This is very, very her. From the shade selections to the shade names, it's a really lovely palette. So you have a contour shade here, a blush and a highlight. As you guys know, this isn't necessarily my most favorite thing to have in an eyeshadow palette, but it's there, and I literally only bought this because of how much I loved Bunny, honestly. Still do love her. So yeah, that is what that one is. Again, the quality in this is just fine. It's just like the normal Tarte quality. No issues there whatsoever. But I literally just bought this in support of her because, yeah, she was one of the very first channels that I ever actually subscribed to on YouTube. So there you go. Okay guys, we are down to the very last lot of palettes, and they are of course all of my Huda Beauty palettes. Now this is the original Rose Gold palette. I really like this palette. I know that this definitely came with its controversies. Some people loved it, some people hated it. This really works just fine. It still works just fine for me today. Definitely there are some shades that take a little bit of finessing, that is for sure, but honestly it's not a bad palette. It probably is definitely overpriced for what it is. I think I paid about $100 Australian for this, so yeah, I mean, definitely overpriced. But at the time, like, I felt like just the packaging itself, I felt like it was really unique at the time that I purchased it, and I really loved it, and I still do. So yeah, I don't have an issue with this at all. Moving on, we have the Nude palette. Look how beautiful this is. Absolutely stunning. Very much bridal vibes. Now, I purchased this when it was on sale from her actual website. It was like 50% off, which is insane. I really do like this. I don't like these two shades here. These are pressed glitters. You guys know the only pressed glitters in an eyeshadow palette that I like are Tarte's, like just hands down. I really just don't like these very much at all. I also don't like the fact that this is a cream shadow, or like a cream base. It just bothers me. I don't like this at all. But aside from that, I love the rest of the palette. So if you take those two out and that one out, I like it. Now, the fact that I only paid half for what the actual value is, I'm okay with saying I don't like these two and this one, unlike my Natasha Denona palette, which I literally paid over $200 for. This, I literally spent 50 bucks on it. So if there's 3 shades in here, or 3, whatever you would call it, that I'm not going to use, it's not the end of the world for me, and so I don't feel too much of a hypocrite saying that. But the rest of the palette is really, really lovely. The formula is beautiful. This one here, I mean, I was really surprised because it is a matte purple and it blends out so beautifully. So yeah, this is definitely one that I would recommend. And it's not that these glitters are bad, it's just that I don't really like glitter. So to be fair, it's not that there's anything wrong with them. I just don't really like glitter because I do have hooded eyes and it just doesn't really work that well for me in my eye shape. But aside from that, yeah, it's a really, really lovely palette. Okay, moving on to what is probably one of my favorites, the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I really love this palette. I have used it a whole bunch. I have traveled with it. It's a whole vibe. So I like it. Again, you know, we have this damn pressed glitter, not a fan. But aside from that, love the rest of it. You know, you've got a lovely duochrome over here, really, really stunning shade. This is just so beautiful all over the lid. Oh my goodness, same with Angelique. This is just so stunning. Again, Turkish Delight. Oh, with saffron all over and then Turkish Delight straight over the lid. Oh my goodness, it is So beautiful. And then of course you've got your retrograde shade over here, which is this wonderful purpley duochrome. Really, really beautiful. I like this palette a whole bunch. I obviously really enjoy the color story. As you guys know, it's right up my alley, and then mixed in with these beautiful purples. It's just a good time. So yes, very, very, very happy with this palette. Up next, we have the newest addition to my collection, and this is the Mercury Retrograde palette. This arrived about a week ago. So this was a Black Friday purchase. It was 50% off on her website, and I had been holding out to purchase it. I have really wanted to purchase this for quite some time, but I just wasn't prepared to pay. I think it's like almost $110, something insane like that over here in Australia, and I just wasn't prepared to pay that price point. So I knew that, you know, she sometimes has those half price sales, and so I just thought I'll wait until it happens, and it did, and I picked it up, and I'm very happy. Now, I haven't tried this formula, so I don't know if it's different to her other palettes. The one thing I do definitely feel with Huda is that as time goes on, her formula has just seemed to improve over time. So I definitely feel like I will enjoy using this. I feel like I will enjoy the formula, but I can't be 100% sure because, as I said, I literally haven't even swatched it, haven't used it, nothing. But I'm very hopeful that I will love it because just, I love this color story, and this shade down here in particular, you can actually almost see you can actually see that you've got a couple of different shades running through it. It's very unique. I really like this palette. So yes, I hope that it works well. I will do a video on it soon, I promise. Right, so onto a couple of her smaller capsule palettes. Now again, I purchased these the same time that I got the nude palette, and that was directly from her website because she had a secret sale on and they were literally half price, and I was like, yes, 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 let's make this happen. So these are out of her neon collection. Let me just see if I can do this in a cool little way. There you go. So these are her neon palettes. I mean, these are just beautiful, and these in particular, the matte formula is okay. It's not like the most amazing matte formula I've ever used in my life, but these metallics are something else. They really are quite special. I do find that the matte formula, especially in this one, is exceptionally lackluster, unfortunately. But can I tell you that these shades here 100% make up for it? Like, my God, they really are so beautiful. So yeah, do not regret this at all. You guys know how I feel. Don't regret this purchase at all. I think they are really, really lovely. And again, you know, when I put it back to perspective, I got all three of these palettes. I paid half price off of her website for them. I don't think that they're worth anything more than that, if I'm being perfectly honest, but very happy to have them a part of my collection. Okay, up next we have out of her nude collection, this is the Nude Light. Now, I am a little bit regretty. This runs a lot more pink than what I was anticipating. I actually wish I had have got the Nude Medium. So there's the Nude Light, Nude Medium, and Nude Dark. I'll probably end up getting the other two again when they go on sale, to be honest. But yeah, out of them all, I wish I had got the Nude Medium in hindsight. But again, these metallic shades are just beautiful, and the mattes blend out really, really lovely. I actually really, really like the formula of this. It just runs a little bit too pink for me sometimes. But yeah, look, having said that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It really is a beautiful palette. That rain is really coming down now, my goodness. Okay, last but certainly not least, and this is literally it, guys. This is it for the video. I'm having a quick look, and I think yes, we're good. I have literally spoken about every single eyeshadow palette. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. So this is the Electric Obsessions palette. Now, I purchased this. I don't know why I purchased this, because I don't need it. Oh, why it says that? There we go, fixed. It's a colourful palette. It's very pretty. I mean, I love this red down here, but unfortunately this does actually blend out a little bit on the pink side, if I'm being honest. It's not really like a true red. I don't know why I purchased it. I have so many rainbow palettes in my collection now. It's crazy. I really didn't need this. So this is probably one that I can declutter. I'm not going to right now, but I probably will eventually end up decluttering it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the formula at all. It works just fine. It's just one of those things of I don't need it, to be perfectly honest. So that's where that one falls, I guess. But it looks nice, so it can be. Okay guys, so that is it for this video. If you've made it this far, thank you guys so much. As you can see, I'm looking quite disheveled and tired, and that is because it is literally like 9:30 at night and I am well and truly ready for bed. That has literally taken me, I have no idea how long this is going to be, but it's taken me 2.5 hours, if not longer, to film. So oh my goodness, craziness. Anyway, thank you guys so much. If you have made it this far, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more if you haven't already. To all my beautiful subscribers out there, thank you so much. The ones that have just subscribed, I see you. Thank you for supporting this channel. And to all my beautiful original subscribers, thank you so much for your continued support. It really does mean the absolute world to me. Be sure to leave me some comments down below and let me know what was your favourite palette out of my collection, if any. And that's it for this video, guys. So thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll be sure to see you all on the next one. Mwah. Bye guys.